Hey ladies, what's up? Hope that you are doing really well. So today, ladies, I want to talk about food as being my best friend, though. You can probably relate. It's one of those maybe weird relationships where it's like a love-hate relationship, right? Where there's parts of it that is like my friend, always been there, never lets me down. Food is definitely something I've always been able to go to for comfort. It's all like literally always been there. And yet, if and when I am like trying to be good or trying to be on a diet or like trying to have some control around, what I am eating so that I can feel better, it feels a little bit like food is not my best friend. And there are cravings and food thoughts and obsession and the little lies that I tell myself so that I can be alone with the food and not have to, worry about it or stress about it or think about it or whatever it is, like, oh, just this little bit or just this one time, or, this doesn't really matter. Oh, it's a birthday, or, oh, it's a holiday, or, oh, it's the weekend, or, oh, and it's not that those might not be legit, but like we all know that if we're just making excuses like this, like I was watching that one show, My 600-Pound Life, and this woman was struggling a lot. And I think she was probably like around 800 or so pounds. And she wasn't really able to sit in the car for like that long of a ride to go to get like see the doctor about the weight loss surgery. And I know, just because of like my own experience and like all the women that I've worked with, that when you eat fast food on a road trip, it increases inflammation, it increases pain, it increases discomfort after the first like 15, 20 minutes, right? Like at first, you have a craving, you have a thought, you are maybe uncomfortable, like you're in a little bit of pain. And it's like, oh, like it's not even necessarily a conscious thing, but like on so many different levels, it's like, oh, sugar, flour, fat, fried, like that's going to soothe me. That's going to make me feel better. That's going to not just fill the hole, like literally physically, my body is going to feel better when I have those things. And it does for about 20 minutes until the inflammation kicks in, and then it compounds the issue. So, what's interesting about the description and the reasons that she was giving for needing and wanting it was, one, because it's fast. She didn't want to have to stop for a long time to eat. It's quick. And she's like, I know that I need it. I know my body. And I was like, I had that moment of, oh my God, I totally get that. I completely 100% understand that thinking and that phrasing of the words of like, I know my body, I know what my body needs, and being like so completely out of touch, even though like that phrase totally makes sense. And on some level it does, right? Like on some level, you are actually the only one who knows what your body needs. There's not one person on the planet, however intuitive, however good of a doctor, however they're whoever the other person is, there's no one on this planet that knows your body and what your body actually needs more than you do. Like being a person is so complex, right? There's other aspects of ourselves, just like we were talking about, the lies, the justification, the ignorance of like, proper nutrition and the experience there. There is also cravings, and when your body starts to talk to you in a way. And so I was thinking to her a couple of the things that I've done in similar type of situations. And it was really cool too. Like I love watching those shows because people actually, they finally do come around and realize that like, oh my God, I've been actually lying to myself. And I actually do feel better when I do this. And oh, how interesting that I could have stopped at the store and gotten like, some nuts and fruit and you know what I mean? Like not all real food you have to cook or it takes a long time, right? Like real food can also be fast. right? Like obviously steamed fresh vegetables, maybe not, but there's like a million other things that we could grab that actually have nutritional value where our body actually feels really good while eating it, and it reduces inflammation and increases energy and healing and like that whole process. So it's just interesting the way that our brains think. And so I've been thinking about this idea of food being such my friend, and like even, years into being very intentional with my food and very thoughtful and careful, full of care when it comes to, planning out my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and making good choices when I'm out, and, making sure that my mental and emotional bodies are taken care of. And so that I'm not left empty, emotionally or mentally or physically empty in the world. Like I'm caring for myself and making sure that there is a consistent flow of water, of proper sleep, of love and care in my relationships, and also the thoughtfulness, the consideration, the time that I put into making my meals so that my physical body is fed and I'm not left empty. I mean, really, there's not really any other way to say it, like empty on so many levels. And then, hoping or waiting or wishing or being upset that somebody doesn't like come along and give me for all that I have given out. And then wondering why, it's like, oh, well, darn, I ended up going to the store, getting a whole cake and eating it on the way home. It's like, well, yeah, because you were empty, like you were empty on so many levels, and like it works. And that was really one of the transformations that I had, those revelations that where things began to click into place when I realized that I'm not crazy and I'm not broken and I'm not sick in a way that is, untendable, and that my relationship with food was cumulative, meaning that I didn't just like wake up one day with a disjointed relationship with food and go, oh my God, how did I get here? Right? Like I'm not cruising along in my life and then all of a sudden there's, a pile of donuts sitting here in front of me. Like there is a sequence of events that lead up to all of the different actions and activities and choices that I am able to make in my life. And so when I am consistently showing up in my life full, like that plate of donuts has no control over me. It has no power. It has no call. It has no pull. It has no tug. But when I am not showing up full, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually in my life, then it's like I could be doing literally anything and be pulled, my thinking pulling me towards that, whatever it is. I'm going to call it donuts, right? You could just insert whatever that your craving thing is of like, oh, I need that thing. And so it is really valuable and important for me as I'm realizing that, okay, I'm not sick, I'm not broken, I'm not, twisted beyond repair or whatever. Like there's nothing wrong with me. I am acting and behaving, and my body is responding to life in a very consistent way. And so what's great about that is that once I really was willing to see what was happening and for what it was, then making some intentional changes in my life made sense. And I began to get the kind of results that gave me an opportunity and the life experience of not having to be dragged and pulled around by cravings and thoughts and obsessions about food and just this little bit and all of that. I mean, I was about to call it crazy, but it's not really crazy. It's the natural consequence of living in a way that is inconsistent with how I want to be living. Really, really powerful stuff there, lady. Is really, really powerful. Okay. So it was really nice to pop in and get some opportunity to share with you and chat with you and hopefully give you a little bit of hope. Like there's more to be done and to be said and to be gathered around the idea of losing weight, and that it's not just the weight that accumulates on the body, it's the weight that accumulates in the mind with all of these, thoughts and kind of, disjointed lies to ourselves. And just really realizing that when I, those times that I have chosen to eat things that maybe were not in alignment with my goals or like my best health, that there wasn't anything wrong with me. Like it was working for me to solve like whatever issue or problem was immediate in the moment, right? Like when people are skipping meals and they end up, eating whatever is there that their coworker brought in, or the fast food or whatever, I'm like, okay, but like you were hungry. What did you think was going to happen? Right? Like you can't leave yourself empty and then rely on what? Rely on willpower, because then you're not just fighting this idea that we have about losing weight. We're now actually fighting the physical body's like natural instinct to survive and to eat the food that is around. God bless us, God bless us. We just make it like way harder on ourselves than it needs to be. And so oftentimes people get really weirded out when they join my program, which you're more than welcome to do. We would love to have you. When they join my program and I start talking about, okay, like, proper portions and proper meals at proper times. And like, sometimes it's a little different from person to person, but generally speaking, human beings really thrive really well. And they have like something to eat in the morning, a little something in the afternoon, a little something in the evening, right? Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like it just works. It works for the body when we have proper portions. And people are like, well, I don't want to be, restricted or controlled. Like, aren't there free foods? And I'm like, are there? I don't think so. I don't think so. But we definitely want to make sure that we're getting enough food, right? Because one of the very first things that go when we are kind of having, distractions or emotional stuff going on, or like, whatever it are the things that have the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, enzymes, antioxidants, fiber, water, the things like the fruits and the vegetables, right? They tend to go. They tend to fade away. And then we end up being low on our vitamins, and then our body is like screaming at us to get some nutrients in there. And like how we get nutrients in is through food. And so if our body's screaming, hey, I'm hungry, get some nutrients in there, you're going to eat. Then if the only things that are around are, packaged, processed, fast foods, then you're going to end up eating them. And then we end up getting frustrated with ourselves because we said we weren't going to do it. Oh my God, it's just this like crazy roller coaster. So backtrack and begin to realize that the way in which food is my friend and has always been my friend has changed. It used to be my friend for like the soothing and the comfort, and it still is soothing and comforting for sure. I love every single one of my meals. I get down at my meals, and then I have space in between so I can go and live and not be eating all day long. Right. And then you come to a meal and then you go live. But what happens is that I can tell when there's something going on with me emotionally or mentally, or I am feeling hungry in some area of my life. I have left myself empty in some area of my life when my food is weird. And that's why it has been absolutely a precious gift that I fought at first, because that's just what we do, right? Something right for us is like, I don't want to do that. It's not going to work. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's not the way the human body's, whatever, all these reasons. When I have that really consistent, loving, tender, caring structure of breakfast, lunch, and dinner and proper portions of food that I know works really well for my body, and you can tell because you feel freaking amazing after a couple of weeks of eating it. And when I start to get like weird with my food, that is when I know that something is going on for me that I am not wanting to look at. And so what a gift. What a beautiful, beautiful way to really take care of myself before I end up being depleted, before I end up blowing up and being pissed off, before I end up, ruining some relationship, or, overspending on something and then feeling bad about it, or trying to, whatever. I mean, there's like a million ways in which we all kind of, run away from our things that we should be dealing with, and our emotions, and, try to hide them and run around in circles. And so the relationship that I have with food now is still, it's very tender, and it's intimate, and it's loving, and it's beautiful, right? And it's really nice to have that. I used to think that having issues with food was like the worst thing ever, because it's like, how are you supposed to not engage, right? It's like, if you smoke cigarettes and then you realize that you were like addicted to cigarettes, or it was causing a problem in your life, you could just quit, right? Or if you were addicted to alcohol, you could just quit alcohol. Like, you don't have to have those things, but like food is, you have to eat food, and you have to like engage with it every day. And it's like so hard. And I tooted that hard horn for a really long time. And of course, I struggled for a really long time. And as soon as I let that go and began to realize like, oh, this is like an interesting relationship, that when you heal the relationship, it actually becomes thriving. It's like being in a bad relationship, and then you go, oh, well, then all dudes must be lame, or maybe it's me, it's my fault, right? Like my picker's broken, or whatever we tell ourselves. But once we begin to like actually honor that relationship and show up to that relationship in a different way, then it becomes fun. It becomes like a loving relationship. It becomes really nice, just like a best friend, right? That's always there, that is kind, that never lies. It's really good. Okay, enough out of me. I love you so much. You are amazing and wonderful. And if you would like some help and support in navigating what does it mean for you to have a healthy relationship with food, and how can you let go of this weight that you're carrying on your body, or the weight that you're carrying in your mind with all these negative thoughts, or maybe it's the weight of the shoulders of like taking care of everybody else, and you just don't know how or where or when to find time for yourself, or maybe you're carrying weight on your heart of like some like old mean things that happened, right? Maybe some other past, people, maybe things that they did, maybe it's things that you did that you feel bad about. Maybe there's a heaviness on your heart. And so if you're human, you probably have any one number of one of those, or combination of those going on. So if it's time for you to get some help and support around that, I'd love to support you. I have a morning what I call Rise and Shine. So it's a little accountability call Monday through Friday every morning. And I got a whole 12-week program that helps guide you through step-by-step process, weekly coachings, lessons, and private sessions as well. All right. I love you so much. You can go to rosestein.com. See me there. Love you.